It's wait, I'm sorry.
We're gonna call the meeting to order. Since Rosemary is on the call, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll do the same order the entire night to make it easy. We'll do Rosemary first. Rosemary, roll call vote.
I can't hear her for some reason. I got my volume turned on if it's
Okay.
owls interfering.
Okay. And then
We can see you.
Ben Gluza,
Ben Galuza here.
Bill Wilson,
Bill Wilson here.
and Bill Wilson here. All right. The only thing on our agenda is going to be the budget review, the department budgets. And so public comment tonight will be we'll at the end of the meeting. Okay.
The questions and have comments.
Okay. All right. John, we'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. I'm going to things with out. So this is going to follow the full slideshow. We got all the very good. We're going to want to make sure this advances the slides. Okay. And set up so everybody can see how's everybody.
Good.
All right. Then side. Close 15. Real briefly, this is what we're going to here, the budget conditions, as set up in the thing. These are the conditions that we have to go with this year, with the trying to comply with our budget goals and objectives, absorb anticipated budget drivers, things like health insurance, increases in trash contract, we're just renewing the trash contract. We were requested to avoid practice 2.5 override this year, like you are every year, so we're attempting to do that again. We had a suggestion from the select board and the FinCom on making targeted investments in efficiency, stability, and sustainability, and we're complying with our financial policy. I won't read through all of these, at least the budget closest. Oh, and if you got to more Johnny, when this job draft is set at RSIC, I'm not going to have one new. Do you want to look at that? Can everybody hear one outside thing? Yeah, I can not though. Yeah, gee.
So.
Sit boss. One student. Go ahead. I'm trying to let John in too. I don't know why we can't see him. Hey, don't see part there. I hope some them.
No, because you got yours. Can you get to the screen up here?
Oh, good. Yeah, just wouldn't. Oop, you went west. Rosie's raising her hand. Yeah, is it Joe? This Joe. Shoot, we got. So, Rosie's raising her hand. Rosie, we can't hear you. Can you type in the chat so to read? Yes.
Come on. The mouth.
Now I know it. Rosie, can we hear you?
Please speak up.
Here we go. We got you. Yeah. Now you can hear us.
There's no.
Also the IT.
So there's no microphone in there. So it's all right. I'm going to sit down and I'll do this. All right. See, can everybody see? Everybody here. We have Rosie and John McGrath has joined us. So still, unfortunately, not a quorum for. Yeah, man. Okay. Go back to this. Just back to teacher mode. Okay. So we won't bore everybody by going through the budget's goals and objectives, but the select board of FinCom met in open session back in the fall. It set 2027 budget goals and objectives. Those are listed up there for you. And we've complied with those as best we can in this budget. Next slide. Okay. Recent efforts that we've taken in the last 6-8 months to offset budget growth. We regionalized the emergency operations center. We're forecasting a first year potential savings of up to $350,000. We've negotiated contracts with Gordon Caldwell and passed zoning up there. So there's potential for another $400,000 in special revenue that the board will have in the following year to use as free cash. And we're forecasting $350,000 in new revenue from the addition of the Gordon Caldwell apartments to the tax rolls. We also are not replacing the deputy fire chief position. Many people know, we've already announced, our long-time fire chief is taking a well-deserved retirement later this year, and he'll be replaced by the deputy chief, and we are not refilling that position.
So 3 of these are recurring, one of them is just a one-time.
Right. Yes. But in terms of our capital septic, there's the hardest too, so. Foreseeable increases. We have about $111,000 in changes, COLA increases, and employee contractual changes that were part of the recommendations from the select board and the FinCom. We're projecting a 16 to 22% increase in health insurance costs, and that totals $288,000. This is a year after we received the 19.3% increase in healthcare costs, or health insurance costs. We believe that 22% number is going to be very close to what we actually get. Essex Regional Retirement Board has increased their assessment to us by about $70,000. As I mentioned at the top, we are anticipating about $259,000 in increases for the collection, hauling, and disposal of our Cliffside pickup. And utilities, the fuels costs have increased by about $50,000. There's a little increase in energy costs. Next slide. All right. I'm going to let Wendy take over with the revenue summary. Yeah.
Have we done an estimate on the utilities for New Town Hall? I mean, this is how are we doing that math?
So the utilities to New Town Hall, most of the New Town Hall is going to be green.
Right.
But the money that we put in the budget annually for that will go to pay the TELP payment to, if you remember, we use tax-exempt lease finance system to be able to pay back the money that gets invested in it from our partners at Energy Services. Our next 20 years will have an amount in the budget that is equal to what we have carried for town hall utilities that will pay that.
So this $50,000 isn't really related to town hall
No,
utilities?
it's not to town hall utilities.
Okay.
We're talking about vehicle fuels and all the other buildings that we have in town.
Okay.
All right, revenue summary, Wendy?
Okay, so a snapshot of the revenue. The prior year levy limit came in at $35,144,248. 2.5% of that represents $878,606. We are anticipating new growth of $500,000. That includes the $350 from the Gordon Conwell. We reduced the original new growth to $150 because we continuously come in under new growth the past couple of years. Debt exclusions have dropped to $1.4 million. And then the allowance for abatement, consistently we carry a $250,000 allowance, leaving us with a total levy raised of $37,662,854. State aid, net of offsets and assessments, is $1,181,000. That's anticipated. We don't have any factual information yet. And local receipts increased to $3,095,220. And then transfers and other available funds from mainly from the enterprise is $612,914. Free cash will be used for capital and transfers of $1,391,000. Total revenue and financing sources equals $43,943,131.
Just real quick on the state aid, I'd note for folks that what's typically referred to at the state level as House 1, or the first pass at the annual state budget, will be released this Friday. That always coincides with the annual Massachusetts Municipal Association payroll.
The AMA?
The MMA, it's a convention.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'm losing my words. The convention is where the governor announces her first pass of the budget. So we'll have better idea Friday afternoon on that number. But we've typically always been conservative in our estimate on state aid, and we haven't been disappointed. They generally come in very close to what we could.
So the pie chart here shows you, of course, the biggest amount of revenue, 89%, is from the tax levy, and then your state aid is 3%. Local receipts represent 7%, and the transfers and other available funds is 1%. A snapshot of the operating expenditure summary. You can see by by department, overall, you're looking at 820,000. Well, I'm going too far. Sorry, too fast. Overall total operating expenditures, the change is $2,675,696. Of that, the town's portion is an increase of $820,773, and of which the town foreseeable increases that Joe mentioned were $778,000. So there really is only a $40,000 gap between what's increased that we don't have control over to what's increased in departments. So looking at this overall picture, your capital improvements, $866,000, which is an increase of $103,875 year over year, and total expenditures of $45,695,163. As you can see, does not match your revenue of $43,943,131. So we do not have a balanced budget at this time.
What fell off of debt for debt service is that?
The public safety building.
And the transfer to HDC, or is that?
So that's the meals tax that came in?
Oh, right. Okay.
So last year, for people who are wondering, who've noticed this or paid attention to this in the past, we had always taken an estimate on what would come in meals tax, and then that would get split to HDC by town meeting votes. When town meeting voted to adopt the meals tax, that was their stated purpose for doing it. Unfortunately, we had always been estimating, and the HDC and the FinCom got together last year, and they decided that rather than estimating going forward, the better thing to do would be to give the HDC exactly what we collected in meals tax the year before, and then that would they'd always be a year behind, but they'd at least be getting all of the tax that the town meeting had intended to give. So the increase you see this year is a difference from what we had estimated last year to what they actually got in the last fiscal year. So that's why it jumped as much as it did, because we actually took in a lot more. Next year, we'll be giving them exactly what we've collected this year. And that could go up or down from there, but it will be that difference in the meals tax that was collected by the restaurants in town.
So by the change in policy, do we roughly know how much more they'll get on an annual basis?
We don't. Okay. We'll know when the books close for this year, how much we collected, and that's what we'll be able to put in the budget for them for next year. But there won't be, any, to the English would be less. It'll be exactly what they previously anticipate. It'll be exactly what was actually collected, so.
So our tax rate last in 2026 was 1570 or something per.
Current fiscal year, you just adjusted the tax rate. What's on? It's a big question.
I know.
What's our current tax?
Wait, so I just want to know the math. You say prior year levy limit is 35,144,000.
Yes.
That's based on what?
It's the
What's the math
prior
for that?
years, it's the prior year levy limit
Good.
plus the 2.5%, and then the growth. The new growth always drives that up or down. So we anticipate a particular amount for growth, but then when it comes in, and then you report it to DLS, that's when they calculate it.
But my question is, what's the levy limit base? What's the math of that?
It's based on the prior year.
It's based on it's based on the total property values in the town. So,
But the limit, I thought the limit was like 7, but there was a number. It wasn't what we were charging. It was a different number. Is it what we charge, or is there a dollar amount?
This is what, this is your tax rate.
Yep.
Yes, this is what we charge, and then the 2.5%.
We only go with most 2.5% per year.
That's right. The 2.5% represents that 858,000 I mentioned.
So if you charge the same tax rate on the growth this year that we had last year, it's
Yes.
35,144. And then if we add the max 2.5%, we get another $878,000.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. That's that correct. If I understood your question.
Yeah, but it went down last year, right? So we went down, now it goes back up.
So if the property value goes up, the rate.
No, but our rate went down. So I'm saying,
Right.
if we had a higher rate, the proposition wouldn't be,
well, so
Could be
so
more, right?
The rate, and that's a good opportunity to explain. The rate is, we get to the rate by dividing the total property value in town by the amount of money we want to raise in the levy. So the rate is the number you actually back into. If property values go up, then the rate will actually go down, even if we
right,
make
yeah.
no other changes.
Right.
So.
That's what happened last
why-
year.
Right. That's why we try not to focus on the rate. We try to focus on the total dollar amount that we're collecting. That's an actual truer picture of the impact to our taxpayers. Okay. Wendy, you want to talk about the operating? So you have pie chart here showing.
Pie chart, 63% of the expenditures is for education at 28,008,507. 7% is for your general government at 3,131,345. 9% is for public safety at 4,125,782. 6% is DPW, 2,896,315. 1% is for health and human services for 426,569, and 3% is for culture and recreation at 1,208,591, and then the remaining 11% of 5,032,054 is all your unclassifieds. That's your retirement, group health, Medicare, OPEB, celebrations, state assessments, property and casualty insurance, your transfers to HDC, town debt service, and transfers to general stabilization or capital stabilization.
Yeah. Okay. So, we don't want to be all business. We want to show a couple nice pictures from things around town. The previous picture is just how well our town departments did at kind of decorating this year. Have some shots from the public safety building, the council on aging, and Pat Park. And then here you see some of the capital improvements that are on the two on the left have been undertaken this year. Top is obviously the nice new vintage fire engine building that Ray Brunette and other volunteers have built with the help of Capital Preservation Committee funds. Lower is the DPW working on a new sidewalk to the Council on Aging. And the big center picture is a project we hope to undertake in the coming year, refreshing the gazebo.
So we go back to the trees, though, were a joint venture with a.
Good point. Yes, the trees, the decoration of the trees here. We had volunteers, a group of volunteers step forward, offer to do that. So Iron Tree and some other folks combined to light those trees up and string the lights, and then they took them down. And we appreciate their willingness to step up and help the town in this.
And the public safety folks, y'all decorated the Council on Aging, I understand, as well. So thank you.
And the Council on Aging and their own building. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That was very much appreciated. What we're showing here is the FY27 capital improvement plan. The capital improvement improvement plan starts out with the department heads making recommendations for capital improvements that they need for their departments in the coming year. Most of these, in this year, I think they were all on the capital plan, 5-year capital plan. They make their recommendations, and then they meet with the capital committee that reviews all the requests and prioritizes. We have capital improvement policy. It suggests that we're supposed to invest about $1 million a year, a little more, into capital improvements. Last year, we did not hit that number. Last year, you'll remember we were doing our best to keep our budget to a certain number, and we didn't. We made investments of free cash in a couple of other areas and did not spend as much money on free cash as we wanted to. I mean, as much money on capital improvements as we wanted to. This year, we're going to get to our goal of spending $1.25 billion in capital improvements, but only $866,000 of that is coming from free cash. Another $111 will come from repurposed funds. There's funds left in several old capital projects that were not fully expended. The projects were complete. They did use all the money that was budgeted for them, and the funds are sitting there. So we'll be asking town meeting to allow us to reuse those to help with the Pennant Park Master Plan Phase 1. Whoops, I thought I did that. And then the rest of it will be paid for with Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings because they're projects that affect the water department frictions.
So you go back to page 6, slide 6. You have free cash at $1,391,000,
So
which is more than we're. So what else are we spending free cash on besides capital?
So we do have a slide.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right. Perfect.
Well, I mean, are we going to stay on this page or? So the library, is that the total cost or is that our portion from Wyndham as well, or?
That's our portion.
Okay, and do we have anything on the lead service line program? I'm curious what we're doing. There's been a lot of mailings on that. I'm just curious.
So the lead service line program has all been paid for with grant funds. We haven't used any town funds on that program. So that wouldn't be reflected here. We get grants as a pass-through specifically from the state to fund that program, and it doesn't cost us any funds here.
But what are we doing regardless of source of funds? Tim?
Yeah, so we have complied with the DEP and the EPA's requirements. The last requirement was to get out in the inventory, revised inventory, as well as then a consumer or a customer notice by December 31st. We've complied with that. So the next step is updating our inventory based on notices in the responses from the residents. And there will be a planning attack to go out and physically look at through excavation, through hydro excavation, and whatever we have to do, physically look at some services throughout town in efforts to confidently say that rate to DEP to make it. So that is coming in this year. So,
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tim.
Oops.
Any other questions on the capital? Yep.
Yeah, the sidewalk improvements line item, highway roads and sidewalk improvements, 300 grand there. Do we have a list of areas that we're improving?
Yep. Tim?
yes, right now the shorter list that I had previously or recently bid out was Lower Bridge Street with some significant drainage improvements. Miles River Road with some drainage improvements. Essex Street from Woodbury to Glenwood Hamilton Town Line. Those three roads, I believe, the bid was about 1.6 million.
We got
We need some additional funding to contract all that work. And that's what, if I'm successful in getting that, that's what that might.
And Tim, what do you currently have to help would pay that?
And I believe I have on was 1.2 million.
So we get all that side work done if this gets approved. We have road and sidewalks are on the on the 5-year capital plan. We tend to invest every year. The amount that we can afford to invest depends on what our other priorities are. As I said, that goes through the capital committee and then through the FinCom for final recommendation. But where we're at right now is recommending, based on their recommendation, $300,000 for road sidewalk.
Have we, in terms of the 5-year plan, have we looked at there's Habitat for Humanity project going in and then the Iron Ox project going in across the road from that? Have we looked at extending the sidewalk out to those areas?
That is the, I've looked at that as a planning to do some engineering to develop a cost estimate as well, because I believe to carry that sidewalk out to past Sheridan Road, past to those developments, there'll be a little bit of drainage improvements necessary.
Yeah,
Just can't carry the water
it's a little bit of a,
out of that boat.
Yeah.
Right now it's country grazed. We put a sidewalk in with carriage and trap water. So some drains improvements that will lead to be to.
yeah.
Is needed, and I understand that out there.
Yeah.
So that kind of short list probably.
Okay. Is that kind of 27 or 28?
Depending on if this year we did get some more Chapter 90 something through the state. If we get another earmark in that level, or I don't know what like Chapter 90 funding be like that. We try to match it with this as far as we can to expedite and grow the funding to expedite it there.
Yeah.
But that is the short list to get rid of some sidewalk. Concentrating on that side of it. Now I'm going to be over here seeing as the years.
So
So is Chapter 90 buried in that state aid line, that 1.18?
It's outside of it.
It's outside of it. It can only be used by DPW. It's just sidewalks as has to be.
So where
And
does
the
it,
projects
where
have
does
to
it live on any of the budget?
It lives in the DPW, but it lives outside of the town budget. It's not part of the general revenue funds.
And how much is that?
We usually get around 240 a year. This year we got about double that. That was one time.
It's partly related. It was partly related to funds that the governor had available based on the millionaire's tax, I believe, and the supposition was that that will continue. But given kind of recent economic development efforts that have come up,
Our allotment's around 240 a year.
240, but
Actually, we get more than that.
Are there other buckets like that that are outside of here that?
Not really.
Okay.
There's grants available that I've gone after.
But not a recurring thing like that?
No.
Okay.
Not the dying roadways of Dredden piece.
Got it. Thanks.
Right. So making progress at Town Hall. We're still expecting to move our offices back into the building in May. And these are just a couple pictures of some of the progress. You'll see the elevator tower is up. It's actually more complete at this point. The siding's up almost completely around there. And they'll be installing the elevator shortly. Okay. So to give you kind of a high level on the general government operating expenses for the coming year. See, there's very little change in most areas. The change at 123 town manager's budget involves partly my new contract, but also includes funds for a communications specialist and the part-time executive assistant. So we had requests to enhance the operation there a little bit, particularly in the way we communicate with the public. So we added some funds in there to do that. That would be one place that would be looked at if we were asked to make further cuts.
What's the select board increase?
That's an increase in Robert Gates' hours, the individual who does the communications for us and the
Okay.
website and the Facebook, sorry. And then minute takers. So we increased that budget to represent more of the actual expenses that have been coming in.
To actualize what you saw last year.
That's correct.
We have a decrease in the assessor's budget, a slight increase in the slight increase in the treasurer, and the treasurer collector's office that is based largely on a retirement. We have a retirement that we're anticipating later this year in that department, and most of that 29 is covered in paying that retirement. Smaller increases in human resources. There's in town clerk. The town clerk has agreed to take on a project to kind of help digitize our records and make a lot more of our records available to the public through the town website. And she'll be spearheading that, and we're recognizing that effort with a stipend in her budget as well. And then there was an increase for elections that was because of the extra elections that are planned for this year. We, in addition to the annual town meeting, the annual town annual town meeting, special town meeting, annual town election, then there will also be the state primary and state elections as well. So there's 5 events. The increase there in elections is due to running 2 more events in neutral. When you look at the overall budget, one thing that jumps out at you is the $150,000. That's, again, for the digitization project that's been recommended by the capital committee and others.
Is that not recommended for free cash? This is a one-time
Yeah,
expense?
that's it.
Okay.
It's recommend, the payment will come out of free cash.
Okay.
But we're referring to it as a one-time project. We will likely
You
be
can maintain it, right?
Well, more importantly, we're going to start with records in the planning and clerk's office and building department, but then there are other departments that will eventually. So there's 150 in there this year to start that. And that's scanning and digitization of a lot of our existing records. As we move into other years, we may be asking for more money in that line item. So we needed it to live somewhere, so we just put it over town manager's budgets for now. And there's an increase in of $64,000 in the finance budget. Wendy?
Yes. That is for, well, of course, I don't have it written down here. That's for increases, basically for audit, actuary, and then we had to hire CLA to do the tax audit for the tax exempt payment for the town hall green project so that we can receive funds back to the tune of potentially $250,000. So that just represents an increase in contractual expenses for necessary.
So, any questions on the town managers and finance department budgets?
Wait.
Again,
So on the digitization project, once that stuff becomes digital, who's maintaining the the database?
So it'll be managed through the town website, and the goal will be next year to also improve our website with working with the executive town manager's assistant and town clerk and a team of department heads to essentially move us to a different website as the future. And so this the idea with the digitization is that it would be outward facing to many of the records that are all public records anyway. People would even have to come into town hall or submit a public records request. They should be able to look them up on the town website through the poll.
Do we have, in terms of maintenance of that, like IT maintenance, like was that out?
It'll come with an annual contract, so
Okay.
we'll use that in a contract to maintain those records, and then it's just adding to the records as we create new records.
And that comes in to play in FY 28 then?
28 and beyond.
Help me understand the finance.
Yes, sorry, now I have it in front of me. There's always an increase in the CLA audit, and then we consulted with CLA to do the tax consulting for tax exempt credits so that we can receive the credits, but we need them to help us file all that paperwork.
Yep.
So that's a contract that we signed, and then there'll be an actuary increase as well. Also, there's an increase in the IT contractor to get him more to market value. And there's an increase in contracts for Tyler, for Patriot services, for any backup services that we use, and CAI mapping. Also, an increase in Comcast, Verizon, and your phone systems. So all of that represents the 64,000.
Yeah, it could just reference the IT contractor. Let's be clear, there were a couple of years, IT contractor works on a contract basis with us. His contract has not always included the same increase as town employees. He often negotiates his contract 3-year increments at a different period than town employees did. So when the town employees got their last increases, he didn't get a similar increase. And quite frankly, we're getting a really good deal. Most towns that I know that have IT departments are paying in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for those contracts and services. And our contract with Andy, I think, tops out around 60.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a really good value for us. He's the architect of all of our IT infrastructure. He knows the system inside and out. He's available to us when we need him. He comes out here usually 1 to 2 times a year to check on it, everything himself. If we lose or what, I won't even say what. Eventually, Andy's going to retire or move on or do something else. And when we lose him, the IT line item is going to double. But for as long as we have him, I want to keep him. I thought it was worth it to negotiate an increase that brought him in line with similar raises that other employees have got.
Yeah, he is good. So would you stay with that remote model? Or do you have challenges with that? Should you have somebody more on site?
Part of the reason we're working the North Shore IT Collaborative is that we might be able to go to them. They're providing some of those desktop services and troubleshooting for other towns in the collaborative. We don't pay them for that right now. But we might be able to get them. It'll still be more expensive than Andy, but maybe not, double or triple.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And on the finance committee reserve line, just help me understand like the actuals 24, 25, down around a couple hundred. I know we replenish and keep a number about 100,000. Do those prior actuals represent what was actually spent? So do we think we need that big of a reserve?
So it's the only place in the budget that we can go if we have a large unexpected expense without calling town meeting. $100,000 in the grand scheme of things in terms of our budget isn't a lot of money. Town's is proposing to spend roughly $17 million this year. To have a line item with $100,000 that we can absorb an unforeseen expense that has to go through the FinCom and that has to also be ratified by a vote of the select board isn't a bad thing. We've been lucky. We have generally done a good job forecasting our needs and we live within our budgets. But once in a while, things happen. Fire truck breaks or something isn't covered by insurance and you still have to get that piece of equipment back up and running. It's better to have money in a line item that we can go to. Yeah.
Did the special town meetings come out of that number?
No, we budget to run special town meetings.
That's up in the elections registration, right?
Yeah.
Except in 25, we did ask for money.
Well, that's true. Sorry. It's 25 because we had 5. In calendar year 25, because we had so many town meetings, we had to go to FinCom and ask.
Yes.
So that number for 26 will be bigger than the 24, 25.
It might be because we had 2 in FY26. 2 specials that. But yeah. Right. We're going to move into the smaller departments, and our department heads are largely here to help us. Planning and Intellectual Services, we have both Mark Connors, our Planning and Land Use Director, and Rich Maloney, our Building Commissioner here. The main thing I want to focus on here is that overall, the budget here, a percent of change is a decrease. We've got a slight increase in the personnel and expense line items. Personnel expense line item, you'll notice that there was a decrease in Conservation Commission. That's because the partnership with Manchester switched to Manchester being in the lead, and now they just bill us. So the $15,000 is exactly what we expect to pay Manchester for the services of the part-time Conservation Commission, Conservation Agent. Planning saw a similar increase, but we needed some additional hours. In order to make the partnership with Manchester work, we needed some part-time admin help. I know we discussed it with FinCom, the select board at the time. We brought in Alicia, who's been doing a fantastic job. She's only here, 20 hours a week, 24 hours a week? 24 hours a week. So we're just showing that cost in the budget this year. Alicia coordinates a lot of the meeting postings and things for both Park and the Conservation Commission, and she's available to do other administrative work that's Mike and the Conservation Commission need. Inspectional services, what you're seeing there is just the contracted increase for the raises, the COLAs, the COLAs for the people in that fund. Overall, though, we're seeing a decrease of just under, about $10,000. Fortunately, we know that we can live with this budget, but it's we're not really growing this budget. We're doing a better job, being more efficient. Mark and Rich are both here to answer questions.
Did we just wrap up a master planning exercise as well?
We did. The master plan was paid for from free cash and lived in a separate space in the budgets. But we wrapped that up, not this fiscal year, but in FY25. So
where I'm going with this, did they have implementation recommendations in there?
So they did, and this planning board has reached out recently. It's within about 2 months now. They want to have us talk about establishing an implementation committee or a master plan committee to start to bring forward the recommendations. We have tried to, during our budget hearings earlier in the year, we look at the master plan recommendations and have the departments that think about what was in the master plan and how we could start to, predict a use of that or moving in the direction for the master plan. But we think it would be helpful to have a committee down the road and to be appointed potentially by the select board to work with the planning board and the department staff to map out how we make those changes going forward.
We have a budget of about $500,000 for planning and inspectional services. What is the intake of that? What are our permit receipts? Does it offset it? Is it a profit center? Is it a loss? Like how's that work?
In 25, we came in under, so it was a loss in 25. We budgeted higher than what the amount came in. But in 26, it already looks like we're going to either be even or a little bit above.
How often do we look at our? I mean, I work in a lot of different towns, and they continue to raise their permit fees. How often do we look at that, and when do we assess if we want to raise permit fees?
Rich, you want to talk about permit fee? We haven't done an official vote with the select board recently. The permit fees are currently tied to. You want to explain the formula for permit?
The last time the fees were raised was 2018. We did I started in 21, we did a fee survey. So we did all the abutting communities, everybody on Cape Ann, and then we started an electronic permitting software 3 years ago. Which is a model for small towns. It doesn't cost us any money. There's a fee added to each permit that gets issued. So that pays for the permitting system they use to pay for it. So we did the communities that use that permitting software: Roman, West Newbury, Newbury, Rowley. So we weren't out of whack. What we have is we take a lot of heat. We have a multiplier, and if you pull a building permit for $1 million home, we have multipliers with all the plumbing permit, whether it's to be up and with a building permit. And that's what we get a lot of backlash on those fees for mechanical permits, but they're tied to a building.
So basically, our fees are, there's you have a rate, permit fee based on the per thousand value of the work to be done. Obviously, people come in and they're doing a whole kitchen and they say, oh, it's only going to cost me $25,000. We have data to show that if we know it's not going to cost them $25,000, so we adjust that multiplier to market conditions, and that's how we get the fee that they're charged. So I think what Rich is trying to say is the amount per thousand evaluation that you're charging is in line with other communities around us, and we're just being very careful using the permitting software to make sure that we're assessing the actual value of the work that's being proposed to be done. There's some pushback on it, but largely people understand. You can't tell me that it only costs $25,000 to do a kitchen room. Everybody knows in Eastern Massachusetts it's going to cost you at least double that, depending on how much work you're doing on it. So,
The typical house is probably a $7,000 building preference. If they don't.
I mean, so what do we per thousand? That's not what we charge? I mean, most towns are 15,
$10 per thousand.
right? And that's low, right? Most towns are 15 per thousand.
I
So,
wouldn't say that, but different communities make their money different ways.
I'm just saying we shouldn't lose money in that department. So I'm wondering if we should reassess that, Joe. That's all I'm saying.
Generally don't.
we generally don't. The only
Usually giving up this a net to the town. We don't generally.
And when I just want to say too, I think when Wendy says that we didn't make our number, I don't think she means that we didn't make enough money, or maybe I'm wrong. Normally, we've always made enough money to pay the people that work in the inspectional service department. What we do is we project a revenue number on that. And in 25, I think the only time that since I've come here, we didn't make our projected number.
Yes.
But normally we've exceeded that projected number, and that additional revenue falls to free cash. That 25 was the only year we haven't made that number.
What do you have? Isn't there a formula you have to look at the prior year's revenue?
So I was talking about just the revenue portion. The anticipated revenue came in less than, under the local receipts, it came in less than what we anticipated. Yes, we're using a 3-year average pretty much.
So if you look at what our actual cost for personnel and inspection, it's between, oh geez, sorry about that. This thing's so sensitive. There it is. I don't know.
I guess, Joe, I guess what Joe, my point is saying is that we're having a tough year. It's an opportunity to look at it. We haven't looked at it since 2018. Maybe we should just look at it and make sure that we're still in line with local communities. And we have a couple big permits coming in the next couple of years. So,
Next couple months.
so it's probably too late for those. But
They haven't applied yet.
We'll see.
Taking $123,000 permit for the
all right,
building for the.
Asbury, right? I mean, it's a big number, right? So and then you got
We're
one
only
coming
going to
up
make
for
our
Gordon.
projection.
You got
for
one coming.
2026.
You got one coming for Gordon.
But they haven't pulled it yet, so the board can adjust the permit fees as you see fit. We need to advertise.
Maybe we're. I don't ever remember talking about it. So it was just one thing I just thought about as an opportunity. Maybe.
I think you
Maybe
adjusted
help
them right before I got here. I decided late in 2018, and that hasn't.
Under your assessment.
No, I remember doing that. There was that market-based, looked at surrounding communities. It's always good to do that, and any other fees we have. Yeah. But I'm sure you base it on volume dollars. It sounds like a number of jobs that are done times an average amount, and we just didn't see enough to cover our base. We don't want to overcharge, but it can't.
The building part does not need to equal, the permit fees do not need to equal the cost of the department. That's been taken to court and disproven. So we try to do it, but it doesn't need, the law does not require it. It could be more, you could twice.
Oh, you can make a profit in
Yeah,
it, sure.
exactly right.
But you at a minimum want to cover your
But we don't
costs.
want to, sort of have it be too high.
You don't want to discourage.
Discourage building, right?
I get it. No, I agree with you.
So just something to look at. That's all I'm saying.
We
We might be in the right spot, but maybe it's time to just look at
can
it.
bring it to you in February, and we can start the process.
Question I have on the master planning piece is, do we have the resources we need as a town on the administration side to fully support that, or would we be relying on volunteers through a committee?
You'll largely be relying on volunteers supported by staff. In the current environment, we don't have staff. We don't have enough staff to actually, undertake the implementation by itself. But
Depends what it is. So the committee, whether the planning board or some special committee, is decide for it. They want to prioritize it.
some of the things we could do in there was put some safe rating to frame some of those on, but that hasn't happened yet, or they kind of about the crisis, terror issues, so we don't have a sense yet. But
So they're not planning on, at most, they may form a subcommittee to look at this in this fiscal year. We don't anticipate them coming with any requests.
not a meager request this year.
But I mean, it's the master plans, the master plan process is managed and approved through the planning board, but the implementation can be managed by the select board if you want it to be, because you ultimately the ones that are going to have to ask town meeting for the funds to do it. So
Yep.
it's also an appropriate way to go. If you want to talk about that, we can ask for either a joint meeting or a contingent from the planning board to come discuss what committee would look like, what the request might look like, and we can start to plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, if they're just kicking stuff off now, it's just where we are in the season, right? If they're planning on trying to get something done, if they need specialist support in order to get something done, would rather know now instead of waiting an entire another year and a half. If there's things that are going to vastly improve our community, so I don't know. I'd rather hear about it now, even if it means we have to wait another year. But start planning.
Okay. You get that? Thank you.
And that next department,
But generally, yes, great job on balancing this budget, this department. I mean, it's a net decrease, it's pretty impressive, so thank you for that. So, just I wanted to acknowledge that, it's a pretty impressive, right? So, everybody else is going up and this one down, so, well done.
Thank you. Put all the credit with Rich and Mark and the FinCo, but thank you. Fire and Rescue Police Department, some pictures from the past year. Our police chief. And it was fire. It was fire. Here we go. There's a fire. There's some photos for the firefighters and last year. We've got both chiefs here in house, but we'll go over it. This is another budget. You're actually going to see a decrease. The fire side, I already talked about the fact that we're not replacing the deputy chiefs. And that we already cut the emergency operations center. So that's the biggest decrease there.
Yep.
This budget does include a change to add a police officer. As you know, we've been talking about it for several years. The previous chief and this chief have talked about it with FinCom. The old reserve police officer program is not what it used to be. The advent of the police accountability and other factors has led to a decrease of people wanting those positions. You can't put a police officer on the street unless they've been through the full academy anymore. So we just don't have the resource to be able to cover those open shifts. So this budget calls for the addition of $108,000 in the budget to allow for the fully loaded cost of a new police officer, but it also reduces the reserve program by $52,000.
Okay, gotcha, so that's offset, okay, makes sense.
So, chiefs are both here if you have any questions.
I mean, more just the fact this is your first time going through it, so just understanding how the process went for you and what things if we had more money, you'd be asking for.
If you had more money, what I'd be asking for?
Yeah. Like, what do you need that you can't get this year?
I mean, there's a lot of those things that, I can point to. One of the things that I can say that most police departments, if not all, have is what they call large scale fingerprinting. So you can utilize it if you have an arrestee. You'll be able to put them right through the system. Those fingerprints captured, you'll be able to get that. Who that person is, they've already been in the system. If they also utilize it, you can have people who in the community need to have for their own jobs or schools. You can have that fingerprint right on there. They don't have to get ink on their fingers and to pass that. If they don't go into the system, though, those people, it's just something that prints right up on the card they can use for their business.
Is that a one-time equipment fee or is it a recurring expense every year?
There is a maintenance fee for it. You have your LinkedIn with the Massachusetts state on that and everything. So you have to coordinate that and then to make sure that the equipment that you have meshes with this system like that, the AFIS system. But that's any things out things and go on. That was a major one that I saw that would be very useful for us.
What's the rough cost of that?
I think it's somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000 the machine itself. So they're not cheap.
Rosie Kennedy, did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I
Yes,
we can hear you.
perfectly.
We can hear you.
Oh, I've been groaning. Sorry, I'll be quiet now.
I thought that was Bill. What do we have in the budget for school resource officer? Is there been any changes in that? Anything additional that we need or?
It's the same. Gina is like sell the drop. She will honor. We have like over there. If you can continue in that position, obviously that addition is also but the schools paid for that for her time over there during these 9 months or so that she's over there. And then she'll come back during the summertime. Because of her schedule, she uses a lot of time that she's built up throughout the year during the summertime. So it's like she does, come in and she will work out shifts, just like she would any other lot so it weeks. See her more during the summer. She's at the school stippling before this, not during the school year. Perfect.
I will say the SRO program's been great since it's been brought to Hamilton. One of the two SROs that we've had working in the schools, Gina and Kent before her, were just great. They were beloved within the schools by the parents, by the kids. It's a great connection, and it's been helpful to us.
It's the one good thing that came out of the patent growth, marijuana growth facilities that we could really get. That's where that started, right? We got money from them to start that process.
And then we didn't really get the money because the facility went away, but
we were able to find the importance of it and pay for it, which I think was a good thing. So
That's great.
Yeah. And then just out of curiosity, I got details. Is there any income for us in detail, private details, or do we?
no income for us. I mean, it's a pass-through.
It's a pass-
We charge a different rate to private entities that need a detail versus if it's a town detail.
Okay.
And then that just reimburses.
It doesn't even show up. It doesn't even show up on the budget.
I mean, it is a private detail. We charge them 10%. And see, for the processing the detail. I'll be quite honest with you about how does my last place of appointment there, or we couldn't fill details, and it was 30 to 40 a day. There were days where you beat it all.
Right. Yes.
It's not. Usually, you double details from you got, so they work to the top.
Yes. No, I hear you. Just curious.
Okay. Very good to know.
Just looking for any revenue out.
Okay. Moving on to
Fire department, though. Sorry, are we on the still?
Yep.
In the same
Same category?
category?
Yeah. So Joe, you forecast a $350,000 savings. Being conservative, it could be. Is that pretty exact, or could it potentially be more than that?
So, I mean, there are costs still. We're carrying in the budget somebody to work at the work desk at the public safety building during business hours and maybe a little into the evening. Right now, we're carrying enough funding to have 1.5 people there. We've got a job description that's been approved by both chiefs, and we're waiting to hear back from the union so we can go about the process of hiring those positions. So we've got to carry costs for those positions as well. That was part of the phased approach that the FinCom had recommended. So we can't. There's also additional costs, particularly with the computerized system that stores all of our records and calls. And it could take a year or two to transfer all those records and files to the regional. So until then, we need to maintain some level of connection to that software. And so we are carrying an annual cost for that until then.
So as a phased approach, you're saying next year we could see additional savings?
Right.
Okay.
Because here it looks like you have about 253, right?
Yeah. But and being conservative, trying to.
Yeah, no, that's not good. This is great.
There was some, on the fire department, there was some discussion around a potential ambulance. Is that showing up this year and next, or in FY20?
No, so there is, the deputy chief and the chief are working on a plan to make a future proposal. But that involves federal grant money that we have to apply for and full plan. We're not ready yet, but when we are ready, we'll It'll be a big presentation with the FinCom, with the Select Board, before we even apply for the grants. If we get the grants, we'll know what's coming and what's expected of us.
All right. Good.
So we talked about shift of reserves and full-time police. Is there anything like that in the fire department?
The future year is going to be complete, add more full-time staff throwing the front flock within about the next 3 years. This can point goes collecting. I'm not going for a secret rest, which would allow us to hire firefighters at a reduced rate as far as the folks up in the majority of the tasks 3 years, and then the other 2 was from the town.
You assume it, okay. But nothing like that yet in 27.
Okay. Okay, we're moving into Public Works. Just a reminder that as you finish in each department, I've let the department heads know that they don't have to stay till the end of the meeting, like they can leave. So we're presenting some of the department heads have left, some choosing to stay. That's great.
Yeah, I appreciate them coming out at night. Definitely won't be offended if you leave after.
So this is another big budget. The Department of Public Works, probably our largest headcount, or we should be if we're fully staffed, but we're having trouble getting, we got a couple of vacancies right now. The biggest change here is going to be in the operating expenses, and that is the $265,000 that we're anticipating increase in the trash budget. The trash budget lives in this budget, and as you can see, we have a $405,000 total increase, and $265 of that is just from the trash contract. The increase in the personnel expense is largely contractual. It's tied into the DPW workers' raises, and minor, those all play out through. Tim, the reduction in highway is due to
Moving personally to Parks.
So in terms of trash, you're negotiating that right now? Is that in negotiations?
Yeah.
Or is that the bid, or how's that work? Is it a negotiation or a bid?
it's going to be a negotiation.
Okay.
We got some. We had our feelers out, and we and Wenham have a contract with Casella together, and we have done some investigation in the market without going out to bid, and the people not Casella were asking for more. And in one case, one company had told Wenham that they wouldn't give us an actual bid unless we did a public bidding process, but we were able to get pricing from them. And when we compared their pricing to what Casella's pricing was, it was going to be a lot higher. So we didn't see the sense in going through the formal bidding process. Trash contracts are one thing that we don't have to bid. The only other, aside from Casella, the only other active players in our area are Hiltz. I don't think I need to remind everybody that Hiltz was the one that abandoned the town of Hamilton about 10 years ago. They just walked away from their contract. Casella came in and stuck to their contract. They had fixed pricing. They never tried to raise it. They never tried to change it. They came and they've done a good job. Are they perfect? No, I don't think anybody in this space is, but they did a good job last summer when the unionized employees for trash companies went on strike. Casella was able to come to quicker terms with their employees. They never missed a day of service to the town of Hamilton. And even had their employees struck longer, they already had a plan in place to make sure they were going to continue to pick up Hamilton and Wenham in the absence of that. So we felt that they had acted responsibly. They were ready to deal with the emerging threat of trash not being picked up, and they've largely been responsive. Their increase is largely due to changes in the market. It is they need to invest in their infrastructure and their trucks. They haven't really been able to do that for us in the last number of years because they had a fixed price contract, a fixed rate contract, and they weren't able to raise that. This is going to allow them to modernize their operation a little bit. It'll allow them to stay competitive and stay in business. And yes, it's an increase, but like I said,
So what about, where's the compost end up in this thing? Does the compost going to cost some money?
currently the compost has been going to Black Earth for about a year now. But we have been in discussions with Brick Ends. Brick Ends wants us to come back, and our contract with Black Earth ends in June, and we're working with Brick Ends to start.
So they want to start that back up again?
Yeah, I didn't think they were.
Good news.
We didn't either. That's initially what they told us, but they have been in touch recently, and they're interested in having us back. at the same rate that they were charging us before, which will be potentially a decrease from what we're paying back earth. And it gets to keep it in town with the local business. We like all that stuff. But the decrease from Black Earth to Brick Ends isn't significant enough to really show it. It's going to be on the margins here.
What are other towns around us are doing a trash fee? We're not doing a trash. We've talked about it in the past of doing like a trash fee.
So
Pay as you throw?
We brought it up during the budget process with the FinCom, and the suggestion was that in order to look at that, we should probably start a conversation earlier than the budget process starts. So we decided to try to live within the budget increase for this year, and then start a committee to work with the select board and others to kind of determine if that's a route we want to go down. I think it would need a lot more socialization with town before you wanted to go down that road. But it is a conversation worth having.
We made the deal. We want to be able to compost, so we kind of made the deal. You compost and you get trash every week, right? So that's the deal we made. It's been successful, but I'm just curious how many towns around us are doing the same thing.
Us one of the only ones doing composting, and even one of them doesn't. We have the quote unquote mandatory composting where you have to at least put your grain bin out. One of them doesn't require that. They offer it. If you can take advantage of it or not. We feel like that's had some success, but not maybe as much as some people had hoped. But if you think it's worth it to look at ways to defray the cost of trash, then we should look at the whole program based on. But that's not going to necessarily change who. It's just figuring out how we're going to raise the money to pay in contract.
The blue bags, that you get from the grocery store, how does that come into play in this?
We have never figured it out. No idea where the money goes.
Just like
That's kind of a per user fee though, right? To your point.
Yeah, if you have trash that doesn't fit into your black tote, then you can put it in a bag that you pay for, and it'll get picked up. You put that blue bag on top of your black.
Yeah, but where's the money go?
Yeah, that's the,
I've never figured out where that money goes.
Yeah, so it comes from Waste Zero to our treasury department to get wired.
So it falls.
It does.
So
How much do we get? How much did it make?
yeah, I'd just be curious if it's going like this. Or,
Well, it's decreased considerably. Well, when we were doing the every other week blue bag, that was kind of just pushing the revenues up. We can't now this back to just the own flood, so it's not considerable amount, but.
So you buy it at Crosby's, you buy a bag at Crosby's, and then Crosby's keeps a small percentage, and the rest of it goes to this company, and they give you a percentage of.
Pass through from the merchants. They buy from them directly, so they pay to buy, and then they get obviously the money from the customer cost, and then the purchase from Waste Zero, they keep percentage and they get us a percentage.
what are we getting on those? That's like, because if we're talking about
I don't know how we know if that's making money or losing money. I have no idea.
no, I'm just like around the concept too, though, of like if there's if we're gonna open up the discussion for a fee, it's sort of, well, it'd be nice if you can get at least if you're very economical with your trash and you're very good at sorting your recycling and all these things and composting.
there's no point in sorting recycling. It's zero sort at this point anyway. So if you sort it all,
I just mean you don't put it in the trash, right? Like I mean that you're God. You're separating your trash and your sorry, that's my version of sorting.
But we pay an absorbent amount of. How much fees do we pay in recycling because it's contaminated recycling? And we pay an exorbitant amount of fee in contaminated.
It varies obviously by market, but it's ranging between probably between $5,000 and $7,000 a month.
So we pay like $70,000 a year because people don't sort. It's just, once again a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money compared to overall budget, right?
We talked with Casella as we had an early meeting about their proposal, and we discussed that exact. There are ways to reduce the contamination rate in order for us to pay less.
Yeah, we just got to educate. People just don't know. People think they're doing the right thing.
We already do better in Hamilton than most communities.
Okay.
yeah, I think we do pretty well, but there's always room for improvement. But to be clear for me, on this line, is there a variable component on tonnage? Probably, right? So if we improve it, it comes up and down? Or is it a fixed fee, all this?
Well, the way that they take their contracts are lump sum based on monthly figure, where you see the differences in recycling and constants.
So we actually pay more.
Yeah.
if we're recycling compost.
And our disposal contract is in there too, but it's not so it's Wheelabrator. That obviously, as you get, if you decrease the tonnage, you get it.
Gotcha.
And that contract will be up shortly as well.
Because
There's 2000. I know we just moved stuff in the so.
yeah, what I put in the budget is programs.
Okay.
And so if it goes up, so Joe, if it goes up, whatever, 263,000 this year, what's it gonna go up next year?
So the contract that they proposed is another 5%. So their contract, instead of being the same rate for the next 10 years the way it was when they first signed with us, it'll go up 5% a year. So the good news is you won't go up 30% in 1 year when you get to the end.
Okay, so it's 5%.
Where are they taking it? Where do they take the landfill waste?
PS, so Wheelabrator in Andover gets the trash, the recycling goes to their plant in Charlestown, and the compost is currently going to Black Earth, but will be going to Perkins.
Sorry, I was laughing. Where's the landfill go?
Wheelabrator, it's
New Hampshire.
North End.
How far is that from here?
Things like that, sorry.
But that's a short-term solution.
But that is
Yeah.
very delicate. And we have very good relationship with them.
Yeah.
You trim that.
Yeah.
Can have space there.
I mean, like, I'm just thinking if everybody around here is facing these kinds of, well, I guess it's all the same. They're mad.
But you're telling me even with this increase in the 5% annually, year over year, it's not worth a bid. The other carriers are even higher than that.
The carriers are higher than this. And we know that both from finding out what they're charging other towns. I know Public just had their troubled summer, and then they turned right around to all their people that they didn't pick up from for 6 weeks and gave them a rate increase.
Yeah.
So their number was way out of whack to what, the pricing number that Wenham was able to get was way out of whack versus the pricing number we were getting from Casella. And as I said, Hiltz, I just wouldn't trust them. I think that, you have a company that previously didn't honor a contract the day it signed, and now they want you to take them back again. You'd recommend it.
I think it's here a larger time just because there's a right subcontract. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions, Tip?
No, thank you, Tim.
All right. Good work. Why is this chicken? These items.
I'm very talking about it.
Pull it up. So, Council on Aging. We have Melinda here from the Council on Aging. We'll go over this. This is presented to you as the Health and Human Services budgets. This is both the Public Health Department and the Council on Aging. These are two of our smallest budgets in the town. You'll see what looks like large percentage increases. They're very tiny dollar amount increases. The Council on Aging increase is largely due to making the part-time assistant director a full-time position so that we can give more resources to the Council on Aging and help that department integrate a little bit more with the Public Health Department. Our Public Health Department has only part-time employees, including the health director. We have a full-time person in the right now, the interim senior center director, who previously in the previous Council on Aging director, who was also wearing the hat of Health and Human Services director. We're looking to add a few hours a week. I think it works out to about 5.5 hours a week to make Hannah a full-time employee, and that'll give us a lot more resources to be able to help what really knocks it down, kind of the most at-risk people in our community, our seniors, and the other people that need to use the Public Health Department. It's the place that we have the least investment. And I know this is something that Rosie and I have talked about many, many times over the years, and that we want to make more of an investment here. So with that increase in the Council on Aging, you're still seeing decreases in what we're paying in veterans benefits. That is directly related to our contract with Gloucester and the number of people we have in the program right now. There's not really anything there's not other people that we can get into the program. We have a contract with Gloucester to provide benefits, and Gloucester Council on Aging does that. And their contract price to us came down. We were anticipating an increase, and then they gave us a new contract where our price actually was down from where we thought it was going to be. So that is reflective of what our actual contract amount is.
So we're not reducing any benefits. It's a volume of
Volume amount.
Okay.
Does anybody want to say hi to Melinda? I know you all spoke to her on Zoom at the last meeting, and she gave an update on some of the programs we're running at the Council on Aging. I appreciate her being here, especially since she has had, unfortunately, no input into this budget because we were already well on our way of developing it before she came aboard. But she's stepped up and really understands what we're trying to do down here, so we appreciate the help.
Is there anything you would like to have that is not in here as a new employee and fresh eyes on everything?
Honestly, no, not at this time. I mean, I think I'm really gonna take this year and assess what we're doing and what the needs are, and maybe come back into with some work notice
Good.
and some non, so like, yeah.
All right.
Okay. And
Rosie's on. Does
Rosie, do you have anything to add?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what she said, but if she didn't mention the word, let's think about a senior van, then I'd like to add that to the list. I know that all our seniors and I, as the liaison and the COA staff, are very appreciative of the increase in hours so that we can have more personnel available for the folks who come in every day with questions and needs and so forth. So that's really good.
do we have a? So we don't have a van in there now. Is that
No.
We don't. But there's, we may have more news to report. We're continuing our partnership with Pine Wenham and other towns, and there may be more to report in the future. So, as of right now, we don't have a van, but we provide rides through the Cape Ann Transportation Authority, and we have other means available to us to help provide rides. And as I said, we may have more news to report very soon. So,
we have another avenue to get people the flexibility and transportation that they need?
we're working on it right now.
Well, can we say what it is? So
I don't like jinxing things.
okay, sorry. I just
What I don't like is saying something here, and then I get a call later on from somebody somewhere else saying, "Hey, we didn't say that was done yet." Don't.
sure.
So I'm.
Well, just speak to it. I think the cleaning is still just in the past month, it's been working on educating. Also a little bit parent about Sheena.
Okay.
Police had you need the senior center doing decoration session, and then we also have the ability to register folks ourselves, so that we can if somebody calls me and says something, I can register them, and then I can schedule that first ride for them.
Yeah.
Them rolling, and then once they're in the system, they can call up.
Yep.
Code is schedule their automatically. So
How many did?
was on the orientation piece around which they get ability of data and how they can really get a lot of basis right there.
A few days notice? Is that what you said? Sorry.
They need at least 2 business days.
2 days notice. Okay.
And there's little appointments, shopping, things like that.
Yeah, I mean they have to prioritize that as well,
Right.
and it's obviously a shared resource with a lot of other communities, and so they do have limitations. But so far we've had positive feedback from the folks who have realized service, and then because then Colin and these Hannah had never met the folks who run it before, and so just kind of facing just the communication and collaboration between the two organizations. And
Yeah. I love the idea of setting them up for that first ride, and then they can rinse and repeat. Hey,
All right. Thank you.
thanks, Belinda.
All right, moving on to the recreation department. One of our celebrated departments at town, because of all the water programs Sean runs. And you're here again. You're getting a really good deal. We have the budget increase here this year is minor. Virtually, it's tied up in increases in a contract, COLA increases to the employees in the department. And other than that, most of the operating expense for recreation comes from the revolving fund. So basically, it's a fee for service. People sign up for the programs they want, and that pays their fee. The other big budget number in here is the library. As you know, we're in a partnership with the town of Wenham. The Hamilton Wenham Public Library is managed through the town of Wenham, and we get a bill from them for the next year's assessment for what they anticipate they need. And you'll see the increase there is also tied to anticipated raises. So We've done a better job the last couple years of making sure that when the library has large capital projects, they get them into our capital plan. When I first got here, they were burying them in the assessment to us. So one year we saw an assessment jump up several $100,000. We go, what's this for? And they're like, oh no, we're doing, we're painting something. And we're like, well, can that go in our capital plan? It's get paid for a different way. So they've done a better job of working with us on that, and that's how we manage that now, and we appreciate it. But these are small increases, really. I guess the actual amount of money spent for these departments that really help improve quality of life for all of our residents.
Yeah, excellent. How does the pool work into this budget or somewhere else?
So the pool, so all the programming, pool, camp, just basically everything that our department operates or runs goes through the revolve.
Stove oven clamp.
So everything, a lot of field maintenance to the rec center, all those things are run through the revolving fund. So really the general fund, mostly of that $24,000, I'd say 75% of that is just the utilities at the rec center, so the heating, gas, electrical, water, and the rest.
The only things in the general fund budget for recreation are the salaries of the director and the assistant director, and we share that with Wenham. So as when Wenham sends us a bill for our share of the library, we send them a bill for our share of their share of Sean and Danielle. So it's a good working relationship. Deal. Great.
Okay.
This is the biggest part of the budget, as noted in the pie chart at the beginning of the meeting. You know that this is a bottom line budget. We are given an assessment by the regional school district for the amount of money they feel they need to run their programs. This is the part of the budget that is currently out of alignment. We're showing an increase in year-over-year spending for the town of Hamilton of $1.854 million in FY27, and most of that is the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District assessment, coming in at 1.7, just under 1.78. There's a small increase for the Essex North Shore Agriculture and Technical School. We have 5 boards meeting tomorrow night. We'll continue to make the case to them. I met with town council to discuss how we handle this. If there needs to be an override, then obviously you have to be a separate budget article and warrant article. It'll have to be on the ballot to be voted at the town election. And we are able to separate out articles for spending in our annual operating budget. So at this point, what I'm looking at proposing is that we'll have 2 budget articles for FY27. One would be town of Hamilton only expenses, and one would be education. So the educational expenses from both Hamilton Wenham Regional School District and Essex North Shore Agricultural Tech would be in one budget article that would get voted on separately at town meeting. And then the parts of the budget that are dependent on an override would be in that budget article. So if the override failed, then it'd be up to the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District to figure out how to close that gap. This was part of the direction that we got from both the Select Board and the FinCom this year. This message isn't meant to suggest that the school district doesn't need an override. We get a bottom line budget. They are definitely able to make the case for what they need, and we respect that. I think that they should make the case for what they need. I don't think that their increase, their need should cause the town to cut its budget any further. As you saw, most of what's included in our budget for FY27 is beyond our control. Next, our existing staff, the services we provide, have been providing for the last decades, and if you want us to cut, you'll be cutting services. There's no way around.
So what's the path to kind of make a decision on that strategy?
So, I mean, that'll be at the select board meetings over the next couple months. Your warrant is open. We're bringing you an updated list of proposed budget, and the warrant articles rather, for consideration of the warrant.
Okay. John has something to say too.
Okay. Yeah, John McGrath has got his hand raised. Why don't we let John continue? Okay. John?
Hey, folks. At the last, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the last chairs meeting, with the two towns and the school, I suggested that the chairs of all 5 entities get together, because we're going to be going to the public with an override. And I think it's important that the elected officials be completely informed of everyone else's point of view on this. And I think we need to listen pretty hard to the schools, but I also think the schools need to listen really hard to the towns. So from what I understand, an override this year at Hamilton Town Meeting will be the first one we've had since, I think, '09. Is that, I think I have that correct.
Yep, that's our.
So this is, yeah, so this is kind of a seminal moment. And I would urge, the 5 chairs get together, or at least the three chairs, the select board and the school, say, hey, how do we want to handle this, and what's the right set of decisions for us to make? In my view, there needs to be an override, given the confluence of events, and I think we need to, partner with the school district on how to bring this forward to the voters. And I think we have a couple of months to do this, before we have to lock it down for town meeting. And I think there's a number of items that we could easily go through and start cutting. But I would suggest a small group meeting, and not just let the normal cadence of select board meetings, just kind of dictate when we get together. So I think it needs to be a special conversation. So that would be my recommendation. We can certainly come up with a whole string of, cuts that you could make to the town budget and a string of cuts that they can make. But I think a small group working session is in order to get ready for town meeting override. So that would be my recommendation. And I'm happy to participate if you guys need us to participate.
Okay.
No, that's a good point.
And is there, so this is for this year now, I believe it is around 2009 that we had the last, but will this be over the next several years? Do we have an indication of what 28, 29, 30, based on contractual obligations that the district has?
Yeah, the district's 1 year behind us in contracting. So we're entering our 3rd year of our contract. They're just entering their 2nd of their contract. So they should know what they need for FY28. We don't yet. We'll be back at the bargaining table next fall.
Yeah, I don't mean us. The town, I think.
But I think that they know what they need for FY28. I don't know what they'll need. We probably don't know for FY29.
And if I could add another comment. If someone was to ask me for my personal professional advice, given where we are in the global economy, and I don't want to make this sound too preachy, but let me take a shot. Dealing with a 2.5% funding increase year over year would lead me to project that you're going to need an override every 5 years. So if I was to set an expectation with the town that we'll do everything we possibly can to avoid an override, as we have, but given what we are dealing with, I would tell taxpayers that be prepared to help fund the schools in the town every, 4 or 5 years with an override. That it's just 2.5 is a number, but given what's going on in the global economy, the U.S. economy, and the local economy, 2.5 is not going to cut it if we want to continue services at the school and the town level. So that's just an expectation, Bill, that I would try to set.
Okay.
And you can bring in an economist, if you will, from the state, but anyway, that's when you look out to the future, unfortunately, that's probably what we're dealing with. But anyway, I just think there needs to be a pretty clear, direct message to the taxpayers, and we should start working on the messaging now, not wait until March 1st.
It's fair.
So
Yep. Well, I hear you.
anyway,
John, can you folks hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Rose.
Okay, so I'll just make a comment first. I think Joe's been pretty clear about the reality that the town has cut its budget every year in deference to the needs of the school. And so the first question is, when do you say we cannot cut anymore? And I think Joe has pretty much said that we cannot cut anymore. My second comment is regarding positive attitude toward the override. If we think about it, we're not including the 5.5 million that's going to be requested for the new roof. Am I correct in that?
No, that's
yeah, I think what's going to happen in April is there'll be 2 overrides on the warrant. One will be for the roof, okay, and our piece of the roof is, I don't know, maybe $4 million, Joe?
Yes.
yeah, something a little less than that. Yes.
Okay, and then there'll be an operating right. So you're correct. So really, when I went through the budget meetings with all the department heads, I asked a similar question that Bill asked, and that was, is there anything you're leaving out of the budget? Is there anything that we really should put into this budget? But now this is the town side, that you are turning a blind eye to. Is there anything that we should be doing for the town that we're not doing? And please articulate that. So, when I had these conversations with the largest departments, I asked those questions, and Joe, and I'll ask the department heads that are still there, is there anything of a significant nature that you have left out of the town budget that would, in essence, disable us from delivering services? So that's still an open question, and I urged the select board a few weeks back to ask that same question. So,
if I could take a crack at answering that, I mean, at this point for the town services for FY27, I don't think so. I think that our department heads have projected their needs for the coming year. We have had some conversations, particularly with the select board and with you, about future things, improving and enhancing our ability to communicate with our residents. That we're carrying some money in the town manager's budget to be able to manage that. The police chief had articulated a need for an additional police officer. We're carrying money in the budget to do that. Enhancing the ability to offer services for the council on aging, for the folks that are served by that department. We're carrying money in the budget to do that. And
if it comes to the point where the board wants us to make a cut to get under, or if an override doesn't allow us to fund the town services the way we're looking at, then those would be the first areas we'll go to, and then there may have to be others. Projecting forward, I think that suggestions of working to implement the goals of the master plan and things, those are future costs. Adding firefighters to be able to bring potentially at least basic life support ambulance service in under the town umbrella is going to be a future cost, but we think we can start to get there with grant money, and then once the grants are in place, we hire the people, staff it, and then we are able to hopefully offset that with future earnings from ambulance billings. But those are not things that we need to worry about for FY27.
Yeah, and one final comment, if I could. My point of view is that we do not want to disable town services because of the school budget. We do not necessarily have to split the warrant articles for the override into a school or town. We haven't done that, at least in my memory. So that's a departure, but I'm pretty adamant that, we don't want to disable the town departments, the safety, water, all the department services. So we really have to be very careful about, that. But I think we need to think long and hard about how we present this to the town. And that does not necessarily mean we should split the override into school versus town, because that is a departure. But we need to be really thoughtful and sensitive to the messaging on this. So anyway, that's all I have on that one.
So,
Thanks, Joe.
we talked about, right, the legal aspect of it, right? So
You're allowed to split.
we're allowed to split it, and then the budget would pass, and we would be able to spend that money, even if the school didn't pass, right? They don't both need to pass, right? So it's a way of going forward, and then just sort of saying, okay, we've solved this problem. Now we can just work on the school budget rather than have it all be together. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we should do our diligence over the next month and a half and
Yeah,
figure out the pros and cons
might be
of
less
doing
than a month and a half, because the language for ballot questions, I'm sorry, I should have had it with me today. Town clerk will remind us that the language for the ballot questions has to be in by a certain date, and it's sooner than the language for the warrant. So we have to be mindful of that. So if you're going to have things in a budget override and a budget debt exclusion, they have to be passed by the voters on the 14th of April, the 15th of April, whatever it is. We need to have those things decided. What is that language going to be? How much money are you asking for? And then with that is a decision that if you're going to just do one full budget with everything together and it doesn't pass the override, then there has to be an agreement about how we go about making those cuts between the failure of the debt of the override and then the beginning of the new fiscal year.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, this is a tricky couple of months we're coming up on here. So we need to we need to get after it quickly and deliberately with the school district.
Yeah, I think about just sort of like from a risk management standpoint. I don't. If we lump them together, that means everyone's making cuts that I'm sure the school committee feels the same way. These are services that they feel are essential, or it's the same way that we feel about the level of service that we're trying to provide, as a select board for the community. So most of the programs and the things that we have and what's been going on here in town, it's at a sustainable level of service, but you can tell kind of around the edges too that it's like yeah, there's other sections of sidewalks or other things that we need that we're not doing, that we forego taking care of, that are not in line with our stated goals of maintaining our infrastructure. And these things don't get cheaper as time goes on either, right? So, and it's the same, the school is facing the same with their infrastructure and with their costs for their teachers and administration and their healthcare costs. So the question that comes to my mind is, are there additional operational efficiencies that they have been looking at that would improve their overall position? What are the big things that they are doing, right? I mean, their only source of revenue is the tax base, right? So that all comes back to the households. There's not really a lot of other opportunity for them to raise revenue. So
Well, the school actually has more funding sources than town does.
Okay.
The town gets all of its funding from either the local taxpayers or a small bit from state aid, and that's it. The school gets state and federal grants and dedicated funding from the state government that never comes to the town. You know, I'm not trying to pit town against schools. I think that the schools do a great job here. I think that they need to continue to do that job. The voters here demand it. The people that live in this community want that education system. I'm not opposing at all that's not a good thing. But I think I showed you on the table at the last meeting. Over the last 7 or 8 years that I've been here, we generally fund education at about 60% of the budget, and the town at about 40% of the budget. And the budget we've shown you here for the town side lives within that 40%. All I'm asking is, if you want to, make us cuts, okay, but the schools should be living within their 60%.
Right. I mean, and I think we should need to show that as a graphic, but I'm under the opinion that because we're two elected boards with two different budgets, it's okay to separate them because they don't control the town budget, we don't control the school budget. So, like, I'm okay separate. Like, that's, like, we're one town, we're together, but we're also two entities that have been trusted with an elected to take care of fiscal responsibility for what we can fiscally take care of. So I'm okay with us saying, hey, listen, this group right here is, prepared and planned and done the best we can do with what we control.
yeah,
Right. So that's why I'm okay sort of separating, because I think it's not pitting one against the other, but it's focusing on each board on what they're elected to do. We're not elected to balance the school budget. We're elected to balance.
it's not the corporation of Hamilton.
So it's like
looking at.
So it's like that's kind of what I was at, but kind of sort of like convinced of, right? I don't want to pit one against the other, but I also want to represent that we've done what we've been asked to do and we've been elected to do.
I think that's a fair statement, Bill.
Yeah, I would
And we don't, I'm sorry, we don't know how the school district is amending their budget or making efforts to cut and you're right, we're responsible for our budget and we're listening very carefully to what Joe is saying to us and informing us about and asking us to approve. So I absolutely agree that we don't know all the circumstances of the schools and it's up to them to figure it out. And it doesn't mean we're unsympathetic, but there's so many pressures on the taxpayers that I think we need to be most of all sensitive to that, no matter what we opt to do, right?
Right. Joe told me that some towns vote department by department.
Yeah, small towns on the west part of the
I was
state.
going to say
We're not
that.
getting into everything.
Wow.
Everything.
But some towns do.
Don't think we want to go down that road.
So
And it also gives
Wow.
it gives the community a more focused voice at town meeting as well. And if they, believe in both budgets, then they'll both pass. Or they want to hold accountability to the board that manages it. So I'm, at this position at this time, I would be very open to doing it, but I'd like to go through the diligence.
I agree with you. I'm not making a decision tonight, but right now it's where I sit.
But do we have a sense with the numbers we have out there today, what our cut would be if it all went together and it all failed for the town? I mean, does anyone calculate that?
So the cut would be $1.75 million altogether. And then
So we'd be 40% of that.
It's 60%.
Well,
We'd be 40% of that.
which
If we
is,
take 40% of the budget.
which is like $400,000 or something like that.
No more than that, it's almost 800,000.
It does, yeah.
600 and something thousand dollars.
Right.
So high sixes would be the number would be,
So if I stick to,
rough estimate.
it will be deeply felt to cut $600,000 from the town.
And
Okay. I think this warrants a much longer discussion.
I guess I'm not going to be there. It's tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately on a plane, so my point of view, because I don't know when we're getting back together. If it's a couple of weeks, if things get decided in between, I'm comfortable separating them. I think that we politically, though, or just kind of as in terms of the way that people look to us, they look for us to be able to represent their interests and their needs and the needs of their kids as well. So ideally we get to a place where we as a select board can feel confident that, the school committee and the district have done everything that they can do while maintaining that level of service. Because I don't think that these things are separate in people's minds always either, as far as like whether it's the trash being picked up or like their kids getting a good education.
Right, for them, right.
It's one thing, they live in one town.
Right, I get that.
So I believe we should be able to get to a place where we as a select board believe that the school committee and the school district has done everything they can to provide a, quality service within their remit. We shouldn't have to feel like we can only represent what we're representing. We should be able to represent, in some essence, what the school, even though we don't control it, we should be able to feel comfortable, if not advocate for what they're proposing.
Yeah. Great.
Decision is the board's on how you want to present them in the warrant. Decisions the board's how you want to present them on the ballot. And, we just want to make sure we have a good full discussion. And whatever the number is, if you're going to have to go for an override, we have to understand what the impact is going to be to either the schools or the schools and the towns, depending on how you structure that. That $650,000 cut for the town.
That's not pretty.
But if the schools, can cut their budget to a point where the town's share of that isn't $650,000, if it's, I don't want to even put a number on it, to be honest with you, because I really feel like we're kind of at bare bones. We will cut services, and services will change if we have to cut. But it's debilitating at $650,000.
Yeah, and I think just one other quick comment. If we do decide to split the warrant articles, voters are free to choose whatever they want, right? We're not speaking for the voters. We're just speaking to be able to continue running the town based upon our budget projections. So we are not saying that we don't agree, we don't disagree with the override. We're just saying we're going to let the voters make that decision separately.
John, you still have your hand up from before, or you want to speak again? John McGrath, your hand's up in the Zoom.
No, sorry, I'm all set.
Okay, all right. We didn't get to the last couple slides. I think that I'll ask Wendy really quickly, swaying unclassified. Tim is still here for water retained earnings, and then we'll end with the free cash calculation. You're going to see what we're doing with free cash. That was a question earlier.
So the total unclassified increase is $338,000, and largely that is the first line item, salary reserve, Medicare, tax, and health benefits. So the majority of that is for health benefits, just so you know. So it shows a 20% increase, but specifically to health, we're holding a 22%. It's just that it's all combined, it shows 20%. Capital spending is going up, $103,875. And the debt service, like I said, the public safety building was paid off, and that comes down. It's a pass-through. It's a 1-for-1 because it was a debt exclusion. State assessments, looks like at this point, we just budgeted an increase of 5% based on actuals in the past. Retirement, we were pleasantly surprised. that it stayed at 4% increase and not gone largely above what it did last year, so $70,000 there. And regular insurance for liability insurance, overall about $24,000. We're holding a 7% increase. It actually could go to 10%. Transfer to special revenue, that would be your capital stabilization. We've been trying to continue to replenish that to get where we need to be. So we are suggesting a $250,000 transfer, which would come from free cash, and then transfer to OPEB, same as every year, $125,000, also from free cash, and then the transfer to agency, which is the HDC. That is just a pass through from the revenue that comes in from meals tax, and as the policy says, goes directly back to HDC.
Water Enterprise Fund, again, this operates separately outside the general fund, and it manages all the expenses of the water department. Similar to the general fund, we have a free cash policy that has us hold as percent of the budget and what we refer to as retained earnings. It's essentially the enterprise fund's free cash. We will be coming to you in February to talk about water rates. Tim's run some numbers. You'll remember that some of the debt service we have out there is due to funding improvements to the water system the last 8 years. And we're at the point now where what we have in debt service for this department against the total budget that it can handle, we're choosing to do projects that we can afford without taking on debt. So we're trying to build up the retained earnings to be able to carry and do more water main replacement projects without having to borrow money. But that means that in order to keep both our retained earnings level where it's supposed to be and raise enough money for future projects, there may need to be some adjustment to the water rate so that we can continue to fix our system. It's an aging system. There are pipes in this town that have been in the ground since the 1940s, 50s, 30s. So we do need to plan to improve those. The best place to handle those costs are within the enterprise fund. Tim, or what do you want to go through the changes here?
The major change you'll see is in contract services, $240,000, and that is due to the the continuous need to replace the water media for $200,000 and repairs on meters and hydrants for $30,000. And then the rest is a reduction.
The media refers to as the filtration substance that's in the plant to clean our water. So
Is that something
you have to replace that almost annually itself.
Yes.
and cost of that jump up a lot? Like, sorry, I'm just
So it's our so the annual tour $200,000 to replenish the JC needed.
Well,
doubles, right?
We were holding it in capital for a while, but now it's
and so next
Yes.
year it won't go up as much.
yes.
Right.
We're going to use the
so it's it's kind of a near annual thing, but sometimes it's 18 months, or like I'm trying to just understand.
the annual. We're going to usually in the low season, like winter time, looking at the work. Regardless, that's the best type of plant to have it done. So I would factor in the yearly. There could be some savings because we will be able to regenerate our sped media. They take it back, they regenerate it, and then we should put it out. They are like our in the next 60.
Okay.
So pretty much every fifth year, we're gonna have new media again.
So that's why we see this. Is that why we see this jump? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, part of it because the last time we changed the media, we did it as a capital project, so we weren't sure on the cadence of it. And then we got through it and we realized it was going to be close to annual. That becomes a recurring expense and something should be handled in the budget, not as a capital item. So we've shifted that expense into the budget this year. But that's, like Tim said, that's something we'd have to account for going forward. So that's why we'll talk to you. It's one of the reasons we'll talk to you about the water rates in.
Could you technically use free cash for that? Since it's,
Every 5 years.
yeah, that's not annual.
But it's not every five. It's gonna be every year, but
They'll
it's gonna be $200,000 or less every year. Depending if we can reuse the sped media, that will be a savings that particular year.
Okay.
But eventually we'll have to go back to virgin media, which will be around 200. But
And I heard hydrants in that sentence. We don't have, I mean, That's nothing we want to like, we don't have broken hydrants and stuff, right? Everything, those should all,
Hydrant maintenance and then meters as well.
Okay.
We usually, you have an accounts funded out of the capital as well. But as an annual, it's in maintenance that we have.
okay. So there's nothing alarming there. Is there any more money you need for hydrants?
No, just we do hydrants with our phases as well. Come down like our water system improvements. We will take a neighborhood for it there, replace the water main, we'll redo everything. So we are making improvements on hydrants specifically, and then part of different problems.
Okay.
Good catch. Our last slide.
Okay, free cash. Everybody loves this. We were certified October 28th for $3,714,565. And at the special town meeting in December, we used $26,388 for prior year bills, leaving us a remaining balance of almost $3.7 million, of which 5% reserve is $2,062,000. So then you have your available free cash for this budget of $1.6 million. As you can see from that, we've been very strategic in what we use it for. Capital expenditures of $866,000, OPEB $125,000, capital stabilization transfer of $250,000, and then the one-time project, not a one-time cost, but a project for the file digitization project of $150,000 to get us off the ground. That leaves us a remaining of only $235,000. So we have pretty much
So it's
exhausted.
remaining available. So obviously we still have the other $2 million that's still.
Right.
No, it's okay to go zero and remaining, right? I didn't vote.
I mean, it's,
Just lessens our opportunity next year.
and the other thing is that if we had a big thing, if we had something really large come up that we needed $200,000, I mean, our free cash policy would allow us to go to special town meeting and go under our 5% threshold, but the goal isn't to do that. The goal is to be able to handle an emergency without going under that 5%. So, yeah, I feel like 235 is a little tight when you talk about, you know, the totality of our annual budget and all the expenses. $235,000 is about 5%. So you have 5% outside of our reserves.
Yeah.
To be able to handle an unforeseen, you know, tragic expense. And I think that's smart budgeting.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Wish I was able to keep that much of my personal finances. But I have kids, so that's not possible.
Very good.
Remind me what the 866.
That's the total capital.
That's what
capital
we're spending
plan.
from free cash and capital on the path of thing.
If you go back to slide,
Then there's another 111 that we're going to reuse funds from unexpended capital projects and go to
page 6,
And then there's other funding from water container.
it's right here, this free cash lot column.
It's somewhere he listed it out as well.
That's right here,
It's right there in the,
page 6.
Capital improvement plan.
It says all, this is,
Oh, thank you.
it's made up of like 8 items.
Gotcha.
We talked about headcount here and there, but what is the net number year over year? How many new hires in the 27 plan?
new hires in 27 plans?
Yeah.
The police officer. The full-time police officer, that's
Just that?
On the potential grant.
Well, that's a part.
And the potential part-time communications person. So I apologize.
Yeah.
Potential part-time communications person.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
pretty flat.
And very flat, really, when you think about it, because as I mentioned, we're not going to be hiring a new deputy fire chief. That there'll be one less full-time body in the fire department. So a loss of a body in the fire department and the addition of a body in the police department.
And the ACO.
So do you account for growth from those groups as well, promotional money and that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we have money in the budget to be able to handle it. If somebody gets promoted.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, and what you pointed out too, we actually are going to be net down this year because of the ECOs too. So
Well, yeah.
when we closed, when we voted to move to the regional dispatch, which will hopefully happen in April of this year, when we start FY27 on July 1st, we will be minus the 4 full-timers and 2 part-timers that populated that department. We will gain the 1.5 greeters, fire department, and full-time police officer and a part-time, potentially media person if this budget passes. But you're still going to be net down almost equal positions.
And then, Tim, you mentioned you had some open positions at the moment that are looking to be filled. What's your current head count, or planned head count, and then how many positions?
We have 2 open position.
Yeah.
One in Holy Water and Pars or Center area. We currently have an employee that's Alan Dyke. We have that position held. We are down, it's technically 3.
Right.
2, 3.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
That's the employee that's on medical side. The other two positions we are actively recruiting and advertising and trying to hire. We just haven't found anybody to come in yet. So
Okay.
we're heading into the, we just had a snowstorm, one of our bigger snowstorms in the last 2 winters, and the early forecasts for next weekend are what's coming next Saturday and Sunday is maybe worse. This is not the time to be down DPW drivers. But that is the position we're in.
Yeah.
Benefits, another large, big increase, which is there any more discussion on Maya versus GIS or?
So, I mean, that we notified the unions. I'm waiting to come for confirmation with the state that they have the notification and notified the retirees. And then we're going to be hoping to start some negotiating sessions in February. GIC, the earliest we could go, in order to go to GIC, we wouldn't be able to go until the mid-fiscal year, so a change would take place on January 1st next year. We have to split any savings that get realized that way with the employees. It's almost 50% split. We'd have to offset any potential increases that they would feel with half of the savings. So even if we are able to expedite this and get this conversation to a mutual agreement that we go to the GIC or we make plan changes in Maya, we'll only get about half of the benefit of that this year, which is still which is still worth doing. And
That savings, is that a one-time thing for 1 year, or does that like roll on for multiple years?
yeah, so it's a reset, right? You reset the base cost for that expense, for that service, and then next year there'll be an incremental increase on that based on whatever. If we stay with Maya, they'll have an increase. If we stay with GIC or we go to GIC, they'll have an increase over what their current year is. But you just reset it to a lower level, which we have to do through negotiation. So
So that it's a one-time savings, and in term that base being reset, that's a one-time.
You'll be an increase over next year, but it wouldn't be.
For 20.
It'd still be less than this year. So
Right. And there's not a benefit of consolidating with the schools or Wenham. I know the schools are probably, I think, are private.
So I mean, no. So I've tried to initiate a conversation. Wenham is interested in having a conversation. I think the school superintendent is as well. One of the things we have to keep in mind, though, is that the reimbursement or the split on the insurance premiums are, Hamilton has part of the reason that one of the things that we're open to is the plan design changes is because we actually have a pretty generous split. We're at 25-75. The schools are at 65-35. And I don't know what Wenham's is offhand. So, for the schools, they don't want to increase their split, right? They're already in pretty good shape. But can I get our employees to go to 65-35? What's the benefit to them for that? Why would they agree, et cetera? So I'm willing to talk to the superintendent about it. We're trying to get a meeting. But as you know, this is a week full of meetings this week. We got a meeting tonight. We got a meeting tomorrow night. The schools have a meeting on Thursday night. My best guess is that we won't actually get around the table with me, Scott, and Sean and Eric until Steve and Eric. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. I won't be able, unfortunately, have a meeting with the Wenham Town Administrator and School Superintendent probably until next week.
And you asked how many full-time employees, it's 44 enrolled in the health insurance.
Thank you.
Is anybody else? And then we have public comment, and I know that there's at least one member of the public that seems to have a question. We want to make it sound like it's a full room. There's at least one member of the public that has a comment.
All right.
Well, that microphone isn't working, so you can, here, I'll give you this. Hello?
It's really, it's for the, and for roads, and
Yeah. Hello? Hello? No, that's not working. Just speak loudly, because that microphone there will pick you up.
Okay, we should. We should turn it over just for me.
I would like to first of all commend our town manager, Joe Nollers, and finance director, Lynn Michaelitz, for the excellent job they've done once again with hopefully keeping us from facing a town override. We are living in extraordinary times and extraordinary economic times for sure. The pressures of small Massachusetts towns like Hamilton have never been greater, and there is no middle in sight. Tonight I'm asking that we start to really look at our town's needs versus town revenue. To that end, the Hamilton Development Corporation was started in 2012 as a quasi-public, quasi-private corporation unique to the town of Hamilton in the charter to bring smart development to our town. The HDC has had the best of intentions and has done great things. However, this past year, with the passage of 3A and form-based code, accomplished through the incredible hard work of this board, the planning board, and the assistance of the HDC, the zoning and development landscape in Hamilton has completely changed. 3A means developers will be building in Hamilton by right with FBC form-based code as their roadmap. Both zoning bylaws now take up the mantle of the HDC. The question is not whether the HDC has done valuable work. It has. The question is whether Hamilton's meal tax revenue stream would be best directed to more urgent needs, as just last week Governor Healy has directed other towns to do. Perhaps it is time for the select board, the taxpayers, and the HDC itself to evaluate what role makes the most sense going forward. At a joint meeting between the FinCom and HDC in 2024, September 2024, HDC Chair Scott Mattern stated that there was $500,000 in cash assets held by the HDC. All town meeting April of 2025, they received another $78,702. And as we heard tonight, this year, they will be getting $174,235. That's huge. So we can assume that there could be anywhere between $700,000 and $800,000 in cash expenses. That is a huge, huge amount of money to be sitting in the coffers of any town agency, especially when our town budget is stretched to its limit and then once I have the school budget overrun and get excluded for the high school roof. Just this past fall, we had to do away with our local emergency call center to save money, and we are leaving the deputy fire chief position unfilled. We are also all keenly aware of the 2 house fires that we had here in town within 48 hours last week. We keep cutting away services that are vitally important to the town. And I'm sure if you were to ask Joe and Wendy, they would each have many more suggestions of where the land is more urgently needed right now. The HDC has always been an excellent neighbor. It's time we start the conversation once again for the HDC to become an excellent neighbor and step up for us. They could alter their charter to help the town directly. They could vote to disband with remaining funds and future tax revenue going directly to our immediate town budget needs. I am not talking about anything difficult or contentious here. What I'm suggesting is a caring and logical business decision. I believe it is well within the purview of this board to start a conversation or to ask Joe to start the conversation on directing town revenue where it is urgently needed. Please, let's start that dialogue. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Smart. Question. So, Joe, anything else for you to cover?
Nope, you persevered to listen to me drone on about the budget for the last hour and a half.
And stay tuned tomorrow. We'll get into the bigger numbers as well with the school and next steps. So do I have a motion?
Well, for the town budget, though, at this point, you feel like you've got this is the final product. There's no other activity.
Unless you want, and so, yeah, I think that what we're asked to do is create a budget. I can't do anything with the school number other than treat it as what it is. It's passive. We vote a bottom line. The board wants to recommend that we change it some way, or the school committee can make recommendations.
Okay.
Then that number is what it is. If you want us to, this is the period where the board and the FinCom can tell us to go back and sharpen our pencils, do other things. We can do that.
I think this is good for now. I think this is good. Well done.
Okay.
And thanks to the community house on us having a meeting here. I thought it went very well. It's a great room.
Yeah.
So thank you for the community house on us to be here tonight. So
thank you.
So I make a motion to adjourn?
I have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? I think we're good. So roll call vote. Rosemary,
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Ben,
And will I?
Bill Wilson.
Bill Wilson, aye.
Bill Olson, aye. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you
our
all.
path.
Good night.
Good night, Charles.